social media with the hashtag glass recycling challenge, and then you can win. Very simple.
Yeah, it does sound simple. I mean, what's also simple, and let's just go back to where we started, Kate, in conclusion, that, you said glass is infinitely recyclable. It makes complete sense. You can use it and use it and use it again. But, a true circular economy is a hard thing to achieve for glass. How close are we?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I mean, we're making real progress. So over the past 17 years, through a collective effort, and that's through, the users of glass, the manufacturers, and the people who bottle their products, we've moved from a collection rate of 18% to 45%, which is a remarkable achievement, but it's still not enough. So we really need to encourage more participation, especially from the general public, and really encourage that. And then, yeah, we can really continue it and close this loop.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a really interesting conversation there with Kate Kenny. And by the way, if you do some recycling yourself, tell us how it goes. I mean, do you get the feeling as you recycle glass, for instance, that it's making a difference? And the other part of the question that I'm really interested in getting your thoughts on is if you've got younger family members, what is their view on this? Because, people say not only do we need to do the right thing now, but we need to seed the right ideas into younger generations. Are your kids interested in recycling of any kind? Drop me a note and let me know on that. 072 702 1702. Did you know that recycling glass is one of the easiest ways to make a difference? Join the glass recycling companies #Glass Recycling Challenge this month, and help collect 280 tons of glass in glass recycling banks in Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Cape Town. Collect your glass bottles and jars, find a glass bank on tgrc.co.za and drop them off. You can help keep glass out of landfills while creating jobs for recyclers. Share your recycling moments on Facebook with #Glass Recycling Challenge, and you could win 5,000 Rand. T's and C's apply.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Stuart James, why were you in Parliament?
There is a lot of evidence pertaining to the cases that I had opened surrounding the killings that the PKTT were investigating.
What is the price here that people are fighting for?
What they're fighting for is total control of SAPS. Whoever controls SAPS wields the biggest stick.
You emphasize General Khumalo. He knows me well.
He knows me well. There's a lot of murders and there's a lot of people that have been protected by Lieutenant General Khumalo. We've got the evidence.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702. John Perlman.
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Yeah, don't miss Aubrey 8 to 12. Always good stuff in that time slot on 702. Now, excuse me, the criminal justice system, I suppose, particularly its prosecutorial aspect, is very much in Parliament. On the one hand, we have Andrea Johnson, head of the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, who's been questioned at the Ad Hoc Parliamentary Committee. And then there's the President of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is in Parliament answering questions, including about the panel that has been set up to select a new National Director of Public Prosecution. That because Advocate Shamila Batoy's term is soon coming to an end. Lindsay Dendlinger, our EWN parliamentary reporter, keeping an eye on this. Lindsay, very good afternoon to you. What was the President asked about the new NDPP and what did he have to say?
Good afternoon, John. Well, just firstly to point out that the President is not required to open the process for interviewing and shortlisting candidates for the head of the National Prosecuting Authority. The Constitution says he has the prerogative to appoint an NPA head, and we've seen presidents in the past do just that. But it was in 2018 that he opened up the process, that he similarly appointed a panel and shortlisted and interviewed candidates in the open, and then received a shortlist from which he then appointed Shamila Batoy. And similarly, he's doing so again. The DA's Glynis Breitenbach, who is a former prosecutor, has already raised concerns about what she views as the lack of criminal prosecutorial experience on this panel. And she again today sought to challenge the president about his choice of who he has put on this panel. And surprisingly, the president said, well, he was always open to good ideas. The process is not so far along where changes can't be made. And that if there were suggestions of people that she or others thought had to be included on this panel, then he's open to taking up any suggestions of how that panel can be augmented. We know that the process has been opened for nominations, for applications, but the process still to shortlist and to begin interviews is still some weeks away. And so surprisingly, he has agreed to consider any suggestions that have been made, and is once again impressed on the House that in no way has he or any other politicians attempted to interfere in the work of the National Prosecuting Authority, John.
Thanks so much, Lindsay Dentlinger, EWN parliamentary reporter. I have to say, and I made this point well before today and well before questions were raised by the DA, but when I heard of the composition of the panel, exactly the same thing occurred to me. There does not appear to be anybody there who has direct experience of the really tough, and I would say it's fair to say sometimes really dirty work of trying to put together a successful prosecutorial arm. And I'll tell you who's on the panel, and then maybe you've got your own view. The chair of the Human Rights Commission, the chair of the Commission for Gender Equality, the Auditor General, the chairperson of the Public Service Commission, a representative of the Black Lawyers Association, and a representative of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers. Who there is someone who's got experience of putting together a successful prosecutorial system that is used to wading through the murk and muck that, if we didn't know it was out there before, the Madlanga Commission and Parliament's own initiative has made abundantly clear. If the president's open to suggestion and he gets some good ones, I would like to think that panel could be beefed up. Your views, please.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
17 South African men are trapped in the war-torn Donbas region in Ukraine. The South African government says it has received a distress call from the group. 16 of the men are from KwaZulu-Natal and one from the Eastern Cape.
Government says the men were apparently lured to join the mercenary forces involved in the Russia-Ukraine war under the pretext of lucrative employment contracts. It is illegal for South Africans and local entities to give military assistance to foreign governments or participate in armies of foreign governments.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Cheat on your barber with the Market Theatre this November with no regrets. Experience the African premiere of Inua Ilam's international hit play, Barbershop Chronicles. An exceptional cast takes you inside the barbershops of 5 African cities and London, where men gather for connection, debate, laughter and therapy. Cutting-edge storytelling, razor-sharp drama, neatly trimmed movement and song. Don't miss Barbershop Chronicles, directed by Sibusiso Mamba. Visit markettheatre.co.za to buy your tickets.
To any private bank worth the title, who you are and where you're headed matters. That's why at Investec, we'll get to know you and your goals so you can focus on building a better future for your family. If you earn 800,000 Rand per annum or more, you may qualify for Investec Private Banking, where you'll enjoy effortless digital capabilities backed by real people who understand you. We'll even switch your account for you. Now that's private banking.
Investec is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Investec, out of the ordinary.
This is EWN.
Major flooding reported in parts of Gauteng as heavy rain continues, and Operation Dudula vows to continue with its clinic checks. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Gauteng authorities are on high alert with flooding reported in parts of the province this afternoon. There have been reports of roads and homes being flooded in parts of Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg. There are also images and videos doing the rounds of flooded stores at the Golden Walk shopping centre in Germiston. Meanwhile, Johannesburg Emergency Services has urged motorists to drive with caution and extend a safe following distance. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulawudzi is urging residents to also avoid crossing flooded roads.
Our residents in our low-lying areas, especially our informal settlement, to avoid crossing river streams while conducting daily activities. From our side as the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services, we remain on high alert together with our aquatic rescue unit, which is a specialized team which responds to water-related emergencies.
Controversial lobby group Operation Dudula insists it will continue checking the nationalities of patients before they access public healthcare facilities. It follows a recent Gauteng High Court ruling prohibiting the group from blocking access to hospitals and clinics to individuals they suspect of being undocumented foreign nationals. The court found that the organization has no legal authority to require anyone to show identification before receiving public health care. Although Operation Dudula leader Zandile Dabula says they plan to appeal the ruling, she maintains the group does not believe their actions are illegal.
Our way forward too is that we're going to continue with our operations. That's the reason why we're going to appeal, because when we appeal, it's going to set aside the judgment and we continue until the next set down. Because I don't think South Africans are ready for this, and if they are ready for this, they must tell us. But if they're not, then they must definitely join the struggle, because the hype out there is that people are tired of the illegality from foreigners.
Let's move to Pretoria now, where suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police head Isaac Mapiyeye has provided details of a dodgy deal which resulted in an agreement between EMPD and two companies belonging to criminally accused Vusimuzi Matlala. Mapiyeye has been testifying before the Madlanga of Commission of Inquiry today. He's accused his subordinate Julius Mkhwanazi of colluding with Matlala by signing two memorandums of understanding with two of Matlala's companies. Oren Singh has more.
Details of how criminally accused tender tycoon Vusimuzi Matlala managed to enter into a working relationship with the Ekurhuleni Metro Police has been revealed at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Suspended head of EMPD, Isaac Mapiyeye, who himself faces an internal probe of sexual misconduct, claims the current EMPD acting head, Julius Mkhwanazi, had forged two fraudulent memorandums of understanding with two of Matlala's companies and signed them. The MOUs, signed in 2021, would see two of Matlala's companies, Medicare Emergency Medical Services and CAT VIP Protection, provide services to EMPD in exchange for assistance from the Metro Police. Mapiyeye says Mkhwanazi had no authority to enter into the agreements with Matlala.
And in fact, I was not going to support, because this is not a process we are supposed to be following.
Mkhwanazi was placed on special leave more than a month ago after he was implicated in the commission. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
To Parliament now, where President Cyril Ramaphosa says he is open to augmenting the panel that will select candidates to become the next head of the National Prosecuting Authority. He appointed a panel to publicly interview candidates last month, but today the DA's Glenys Breitenbach again raised concerns during a question and answer session in the National Assembly about what she views as its lack of criminal prosecutorial experience. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
President Ramaphosa believes the panel, which comprises representatives from the executive, Chapter 9 institutions and legal bodies, have the requisite skills and experience to nominate suitable candidates for appointment.
This process is transparent and helps to build public confidence in the appointment of a person in this critical office.
But the DA is not happy. Former prosecutor turned MP Glenys Breitenbach argues the panel lacks someone who understands the ethos and culture of the NPA. Ramaphosa says it's not too late to add more members.
I'm always open to good ideas. And if there are people who have good and superior knowledge in criminal prosecutions, I'm willing to consider them.
Ramaphosa says he's instructed the Justice Minister to consider how a more transparent selection process for this position can be codified in law. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And France is calling on the European Union to sanction online retail giant Shein. This follows uproar over its sale of childlike sex dolls on its French website, as well as the opening of its first brick-and-mortar store in the world in Paris. French ministers say the EU must take action immediately, especially since it's been looking into the Chinese-founded company over risks linked to illegal products. A letter has been sent to the European Commission urging the EU's executive arm to use all its powers to shed light on Sheehan's actions. Gold is trading at $4,012.84 an ounce. The rand is at 17.39 to the dollar, 22.70 to the pound, 20.03 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.52 a barrel.
On the N3 South, there's a crash at London Road and at Kloof Road. There's heavy traffic in both directions. On the M1 North, after Caller Drive, there's a crash causing delays from Houghton Estate. And on Morocco Bypass, there's an accident before Abubakar Asfat Drive.
In your sport, the Proteas set a victory target of 270 in their second ODI against Pakistan. No room for sentimentality for Rassie Erasmus ahead of his 50th Test as head coach. And Hugo Broos rules out a Bafana Bafana recall for Thembinkosi Lodge.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Joburg dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 15 and 20 and Vereniging 13 at a high of 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Gauteng authorities are on high alert with flooding reported in parts of the province this afternoon.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 4 on a difficult day for people driving around Gauteng, Joburg in particular. From what I can gather, you heard a moment ago from Mbali Dlamini updates on some of the trouble spots, but if there are areas that we need to know about or an experience you want to share on that, please do give us a call on 072 702 1702. I think it's the Protea Gardens area in Soweto that we heard about a little while ago. Described as particularly bad with flooding. But anywhere else that you've got an alert to share, some advice for other members of the 702 family making their way home, please do just add your voice and we will amplify it for you and make sure everybody who needs to hear actually does. Coming up on the show to the Madlanga Commission, we go. A very interesting day indeed for me, at least, because it showed the extent to which rot can permeate an arm of policing. And we'll get more on that from Oren Singh. I'm just giving you a little headline or highlight there of what struck me as significant, but Oren obviously watching it very, very much more closely than I have. He's with us in just a moment. And then entries for the next year's Comrades Marathon. I don't know if sold out is the word, but all places taken up in less than 10 hours. The previous record, I think, was 3 days before the 27,000 slots were filled. Fewer slots this year, but still, clearly demand is huge. Alain Delay is Comrades Marathon Association General Manager, and he's with us at 20 past 4. Did you get your spot? Hope you did. If you didn't, maybe you want to just tell us about your experience. 11 minutes past 4. A lot of you sending us your thoughts on various issues, including people responding to the decision made in the court in regard to Angelo Agrizzi, sentenced to a total of 40 years. I said 10, but it's 4 counts, 10 years on each count. I don't know if that translates to an effective 10, but either way, a lot of years. He will not go to jail for a day. And some of you have got some thoughts on that.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Afternoon. Now I don't understand. Those Agrisi gave money and sheep, why are they not charged? I don't understand. Sis here.
Hi, John and the listeners. This is Medisi here. For me, on Angelo Agrizzi avoiding jail time because he's sick, well, I think we've been here before. I wouldn't be very surprised if Agrizzi one day opens a political party and ends up in parliament, or if he goes on to have a very successful career in golf. I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you.
Very interesting point you're raising there, very skeptically and with significant justification. I think many people would agree. But I wonder, how is the ill health of somebody who's reached this deal monitored? I mean, is it get out of jail and then you keep the card, or is it get out of jail but it's reviewed the way parole is? I mean, interesting. I do not know the answers to that, but after 5, we'll share with you the thoughts of somebody who does. And Tabiseng Dubazana is Director of Dubazana Attorneys, joining us to shed some light on the way these things work out and play out. 13 minutes past 4. We'll get to the Madlanga Commission in a moment, but not before we've given you all the traffic news you need to know.
EWN Traffic.
Charlene Leroux watching things for us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Yes, watching things. There are a number of crash scenes this afternoon. So if you are on the roads, please slow down. We've got 2 crash scenes on the N3 South. One is at London Road, the other at Kloof Road. So that's causing heavy traffic in both directions. On the M1 North after Caller Drive, there's also a crash causing delays from Houghton Estate. On the N3 North, there's a crash in the left lane. That's just before Van Buren Road. So you can expect delays. And then if on the N1 North, just after the Golden Highway, there's also a crash with the right and centre lanes closed, and at 14th Avenue with the 2 centre lanes still obstructed. And then having a look at the stationary vehicles, one is on the N12 West in the left lane after Komoro Street, and the other on the N1 North. There's a stationary vehicle in the left lane after New Road. And then we have 2 trucks broken down. One is on the N1 South before Baklu Interchange, and the other truck is in the left lane on the R24 East just after Edenvale Road. More Eyewitness News traffic in 15 minutes.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The week goes by fast.
And sometimes you miss a moment that's got everyone talking.
But don't worry. Catch up on the biggest interviews,
The most powerful stories.
and the conversations that move South Africa forward with the 702 podcast.
Every Saturday and Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. It's your chance to rewind,
Reflect and reconnect with the voices that make 702 what it is.
So if you missed it, now's your time to catch up.
Tune in to the 702 podcast. And for more stories, interviews,
And moments, visit primemediaplus.com. 702.
let's walk the talk.
It's amazing what help can do. Help can take you from smart money moves to smart gadgets and household must-haves. With an FNB Premier Credit or Fusion card, get up to 40% back in e-bucks on devices and appliances. Open any FNB Premier account today, celebrating 25 years of helping you live the Premier life. FNB, help changes everything. TC's earn rules apply while stocks last. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Enjoy the thrill of the Soccer Punches Challenge, Weekend Edition, an all-new platform from Hollywood Bets. You stand a chance to win a share of the 5 million rand jackpot when you bet 5 rand or more on selected EPL matches over the weekend and correctly predict 10 out of 10 winning margins. Or chase the share of the 50,000 rand leaderboard prize. Entry is free. Let this soccer season bring sizzling success. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is licensed by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
In case you missed it, 702 was in conversation with Santam about Santam's partnership with the G20 taking place in Johannesburg.
We are participating in the Disaster Risk and Reduction Working Group, and through that we are able to share some learning, good practices, and what we've got from our flagship program, like Partnerships and Risk and Resilience. So we hope that the learnings that we are able to share with the G20 countries were able to be utilized, most importantly to emphasize the role of partnerships between government and the private sector.
Santam is the proud sponsor of the G20 Summit. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer, and the controlling company for its group of companies.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Let's go to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry now. I thought today was really quite intriguing for reasons I might share with you later. But let's get straight into it with our EWN colleague, Oren Singh. Oren, a very good afternoon to you. The person appearing before the commission today, the chief of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, currently suspended, Jabulani Mapiyeye, was testifying. And what really struck me was how he was absolutely openly defied by one of his subordinates and got no support. If anything, he got hostility from the city manager and other senior executives. Tell us exactly what was going on. I mean, and this went on for years, by the way, didn't it?
It did, John, and I think one would feel for Isaac Mapiyeye, the chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. He's a decorated police officer. He's got more than 40 years service and 25 within EMPD itself. You know, our sources have told us that he's a very good cop and he knows what he's doing. And I think it's a shame that he was defied in the sense that he was by his subordinate, like you clearly pointed out, and that of Brigadier Julius Mkonazi. And not to be confused with Nhlanhla Mkonazi. But Julius Mkonazi he became the acting head of EMPD when Isaac Mapiyeye was placed on precautionary suspension. And the picture that was painted by Mr. Mapiyeye today, or Chief Mapiyeye, John, is that essentially Mkonazi was allegedly working with the ex-city manager of Ekurhuleni Council, in that of Imogen Mashazi. And they had been working together, and she was protecting Mkonazi a lot in what he was doing. Mkonazi is accused of going behind the back of the chief of EMPD, Isaac Mapiyeye, and entering into 2 fraudulent contracts with Vusimusi Cat Matlala, 2 of his companies, in 2021. This was a medical service company, and Cat VIP Protection, Cat Matlala, is a private protection company. And essentially that deal on paper was signed off by Brigadier Mkonazi without following the proper channels and going to Chief Mapiyeye for final sign-off. Mkonazi did this behind the back. He's accused of forging the documents and signing them when he wasn't authorized to do that. And this allowed Cat to get into a sort of uneasy relationship with a Metro Police Department in the country where ordinary citizens shouldn't find themselves. You shouldn't be allowed to have a private security company that is then getting preferential treatment because your private security company is supplying certain training for EMPD, and in turn you're also supplying EMPD with donations, inverted commas, in the form of vehicles for their use. So it was a very difficult situation that Chief Mapiyeye says played out, and he was sitting there essentially saying, my hands are tied. I flagged this. There's a case that's been opened against Brigadier Mkonazi, and it went for investigation to IPID. IPID found him guilty and said that the case must be prosecuted. He must be prosecuted on. And to date, that case is sitting with the Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions to no avail. There's no prosecution.
I mean, in Chief Mapiyeye's own words, and I want to quote this and then ask you a question, Oren. He said that Mkonazi, backed by the city manager at the time, Imogen Mashazi, and others, had, quote, over the years brazenly disregarded my authority as the chief of police of the EMPD. Now, the picture painted there is of a police department in which people who are subordinates, and it's, for me, certainly echoes the Commissioner of Police, Fani Masemola, saying, well, I kept telling my deputy, Shadrach Sabir, not to do things, but, well, he kind of didn't stop doing what I asked him to stop doing. Is this a crucial part, though, of the rot that is being exposed by these commissions, that not only do you have dodgy deals and relationships with even dodgier characters, but you've got a complete upending of the way the police service should actually work?
Let's not forget, John, what the commission was established for in their terms of reference, to investigate political interference. And that's exactly what we've seen in a prime example of what's happened within EMPD, where people within the city of Ekurhuleni, politicians, have directly interfered in policing matters. And you have people like Chief Mapiyeye sitting there, a decorated cop who's been unable to do his work because of political interference. But it must be said, John, that this does not only apply to EMPD. The rest of the Metro Police departments across South Africa, Durban Metro, Cape Town Metro, JMPD and TMPD, have similar issues, because quite often you find there are camps within these Metro Police departments that are at loggerheads, and that's a prime example of what happened at EMPD.
Yeah, it was chilling stuff. I mean, not, in the way of some of the other things we've heard of armed police interfering with the work of other armed police. But it was, if you wanted a picture of dysfunctionality, and let's be clear, this all needs to be tested with a counter version. But so far, not so good. 23 minutes past 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, whenever we talk Comrades Marathon, we often talk about Comrades Marathon records, and that's to do with who managed to run faster than ever before, either up or down. But a new and different kind of record established this week, 22,000 places at the start line for 2026, and in less than 10 hours, all entries were taken up. It's never been done as quickly as this, although in truth, in 2020, there were 27,000 entries allowed, certainly more, but nevertheless, that took 3 days. So what's going on? Is this just online speed, or does it reflect a popularity level for this race that perhaps we haven't seen before? Alain Delay is the general manager of the Comrades Marathon Association and joins us now on 702 Drive. Mr. Delay, welcome and thanks for your time. How did this happen? What do you make of it? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you and all your listeners, and thanks for having me on your show. So this was unprecedented. We do know and acknowledge that the Comrades Marathon is an extremely popular event. It's considered one of the most pinnacle events for road runners that are serious about their running to complete.
Right.
And, it's a bucket list event for many runners out there. But we are now certain that, number one, we have about 2,700 running of the Comrades Marathon coming up in 2 years. So we know that there is a massive demand for runners to participate in that event. Having said that, lots of runners also want to participate in this year's event, leading into that one, although it's not a requirement to have to run 2026 to participate in 2027. But if I use our novice runners as an example, if they do their first Comrades Marathon and finish in 2026, we have a special medal called the back-to-back medal that they will then be awarded in that very special year of 2027 at the 100th running. So that also has let us see thousands of novices have entered again, very similar to this year's 2025 race. But also road running has really become such an exciting and popular sport since after the pandemic. So we also attribute it to the popularity of various road running events. I mean, there's so many popular 10-kilometer events now across the country, and runners look at the Comrades Marathon as the end of their achievement list, that they want to get to the Comrades Marathon at some point. So I think that's also led to the popularity as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is remarkable. Now, I know that, for example, Green Number Club members, CMA members, had a little early bird opportunity, and almost 2,600 of those got in. But after that, is it pretty much first come, first served, or did participation in the Comrades before give you any kind of advantage in, I don't want to call it a free-for-all because that's not what it was, but the open opportunity? Was it first come, first served, or if you'd been a dedicated Comrades runner, was there any upside?
No, John, the only people that had the first opportunity, as you rightfully said, was the Green Number Club runners. So those were 10 or more completed Comrades finishes, and anyone that is registered as a CMA member. Then after that 1 week period, we opened up to everyone else. But there was no preference or specific criteria or batches given to any specific groups. it was on a first-come, first-served basis.
Is there any chance that some people just got in and are loading up with confirmed entries that they might look to resell, or does your system prevent that? If I decide I'm not running, does my entry have to come back through the CMA and back into a pool that you manage?
That is correct. So that's what we call our substitution process. So runners that have been able to successfully obtain an entry now, if they, for whatever reason, due to injury, illness, etc., or any other reason, are unable to participate in next year's edition of the race, they have between the 16th to the 30th of March 2026 to withdraw their entry.
Right.
Their entry then goes into a pool of available entries that are up for substitution. That window then opens exactly on the 1st of April 2026
Right.
and runs until the 15th of April. But, John, if what's just happened this Monday, as well as for the 2025 race, as far as substitutions are concerned, we're strongly advising all runners to literally be ready to hit go on their whatever device they're using to enter during the substitution window, because that's going to be the only other opportunity that they have to participate in next year's race if they currently do not have an entry. But we anticipate those entries to be snapped up again, possibly in that first day on that 1st of April.
Thanks so much, Alain Deleuze, who is the Comrades Marathon Association General Manager. Chief Mtembu says, I snoozed, I lost, but I'm hopeful that I will get in via the substitution window in 26. So I'm doing my Jacaranda qualifier marathon, 42 Ks on Saturday. Have a good run, Chief, and I hope you got to hear what Alain was saying about how you need to be quick. That substitution entry opportunity coming on the 1st of April. 702 Drive, 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Critters, a very good afternoon to you. Another update for the JSE. I'm not sure up by how much, but certainly we're doing better than we were at the start of the week.
Indeed, John, good afternoon. Resources having a strong day. That helps. The JSE All Shares up 1.21% at 110,109 points. Financials up 0.69%. Industrials up 1%. Resources up 2.18%. And it's the usual suspects, John, gold and platinum shares in particular. Sibanye-Stillwater, the gold and platinum producer, they're up 6% on the day. They did confirm their group-adjusted EBITDA for the quarter to the end of October, including platinum-specific U.S. tax credits, was up nearly 200% year-on-year. EBITDA without the tax credit was 53% higher from quarter 2 to quarter 3, and their platinum group metals operations in South Africa had an increase of over 200%. That's higher platinum prices. Their gold operations here increased their EBITDA by 177%. A fascinating day for Sappi. They were up nearly 10% at one point today. They're up just 3% now. They did report a loss of over 3 billion rand. You may remember how their shares dropped last month. They dropped nearly 15%. They flagged a weak outlook. They recovered quite strongly, but seem to be falling again now. They did say that paper markets have been weak. Wood pulp prices have been lower. Currencies have moved against it. Does say it expects the global operating environment to be quite difficult in the longer term. DRD Gold's up 6.5%, and some of the other gold producers up very strongly as well. Vodacom also confirming their headline earnings per share for the interim results for the 6 months to the end of September to be up by between 30 and 40%. First Rand's down 1.66% today. They've announced they may have to raise the provision for fines it may have to pay in the UK for the mis-selling of car finance. They say a potential settlement might have a wider reach and involve more deals than previously thought. And then Truworths reporting their group sales were flat for the 18 weeks to the beginning of November at 7.2 billion rand. Sales of Truworths Africa down 4%. Their Office UK group did grow by 6% in UK currency. MTN is down 2.6% and Northern Platinum is down 2.32%, while Mondi PLC, they're down 2% at the moment. US markets just beginning to open now, but stock index futures have been flat to slightly higher, still uncertainty around the valuations of tech companies. The gold price, $4,006.01 an ounce. Platinum, $1,558.70. Brent crude, $63.51. And the rand to the dollar, 17.35. To the euro, 20.01. To the British pound, 22.71. Stephen Crotus, EWN Business.
Thank you, Stephen. 28 minutes to 5, the latest news. Here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Following the latest round of musical chairs in the Umkhonto weSizwe party, questions have been raised over the stability of the country's official opposition. But the party's leadership insists it's still going through teething issues which will eventually iron themselves out. The MK party has suspended its deputy president and parliamentary leader John Hlophe for ill discipline, saying he acted unilaterally by firing Colleen Makhubele as the chief whip and replacing her with Des van Rooyen. Thabiso Koba has more.
Since its inception about 2 years ago, the MK party has had 7 secretary generals, 4 different parliamentary chief whips, and constantly changes the list of its public representatives, whether in the National Assembly or in provincial legislatures. Internal factional squabbles also continue to plague the country's official opposition party. Head of Presidency Magasela Mzobe says the suspension of the party's parliamentary leader John Hlophe was not easy. However, it was necessary, as the party cannot allow for ill discipline to go unpunished.
Now, the President Zuma was confronted with the reality of whether to allow this thing to continue or to use this opportunity to affirm the principle of collective leadership. And unfortunately and sadly, it ought to look like to other people like we're unstable, but it's meant to stabilize the party on its processes of decision making.
Mzobe says Hlophe will be subjected to the party's internal disciplinary process. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The city of Johannesburg says it is concerned that informal traders in the metro appear reluctant to register for trading permits. Earlier this week, the Gauteng High Court gave the city a 2-week deadline to verify street vendors and allocate them trading stalls in the CBD. The city has been working to tidy up the city centre and ensure that informal traders operate only in designated zones. City officials visited the CBD today to encourage informal traders to register. Acting Mayor Eunice Mgcina has called on the informal traders to utilise this opportunity.
We are worried about the turnout of those informal traders. They are not coming as we expect them to. And there's a list that we're given from the court of about 525 informal traders that registered on their own list to be verified. But up to so far, we don't have a sizable number to get them registered.
And police union SAPU says it's concerned about the arrest of police officers for allegedly committing crimes in Cape Town. At least 20 police officers in the metro have been arrested for various crimes in the past 12 months. Recently, 4 officers attached to the Bellville Rapid Railway office were arrested for allegedly stealing more than 18,000 rand from a shop in Delft. They were nabbed last weekend and appeared in court yesterday to apply for bail. SAPU Acting Provincial Secretary Marai Otto.
SAPU Western Cape continues to call on all law enforcement members to conduct themselves with integrity, professionalism and honesty. Our communities deserve police service they can trust, and building that trust begins with us.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with afternoon thundershowers expected, lows of between 13 and 15 degrees and highs of between 17 and 20.
On the N3 North, there's a crash before Van Buren Road. All lanes have been closed. You can expect delays, so please use an alternative route. On the N12 East, there's a crash at the R59, and on the N1 North on the Beyers Naudé on-ramp.
A top story in EWN: following the latest round of musical chairs in the Umkhonto weSizwe party, questions have been raised over the stability of the country's official opposition party.
For generations, the world has spoken about Africa.
More needs to be done to ensure that the prosperity is broadly shared.
Now, for the first time, the world's leaders gather on African ground.
This summit's location underscores the need for African voices to be heard.
On the 22nd and 23rd of November, the G20 summit lands on our soil. A moment where South Africa doesn't just host the conversation, we help lead it.
The majority of the 54 nations that now comprise Africa were never offered a seat at the table where plans for a new
world order were being drawn. From solidarity and equality to food security, poverty, and climate justice, this is where Africa's voice rises, not as an echo, but as a force. And as history unfolds in real time, EWN, 702 and Cape Talk bring you closer to every decision, every voice, every detail that shapes our future. Stay with us and stay connected to the story being written on home ground, on air, on the EWN app, and on primemediaplus.com. Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an ABSA Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. ABSA, your story matters.
Collaboration works best when it's human first, AI enabled. Vodacom Business gives your teams the tools to share ideas and deliver big projects, to meet, chat, and co-create. With 24/7 local support always in reach, we connect people, not just devices. Search Vodacom Business Enterprise applications. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business, further together.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hey, John, you took the words right out of my mouth. Donald Trump is going to win the Peace Award. Chiefs won the Nedbank Cup last year because of him, and Pirates won the MT8 this year because of him. Any club that is going to win anything is going to be because of Donald Trump has made it possible.
Hi, John. It's Musa here. Pardon me for going slightly off topic, but I heard a gentleman talking about Shabir Sheikh and his medical parole. Well, it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. And, when I hear such things, I always wonder, and it's not to excuse Shabir Sheikh's medical parole, but do we ever consider how the likes of Craig Williamson and others and other members of different apartheid death squads, CCB, security branch, are all living lavishly? They are free. They've got land, they've got farms, and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, you've got victims of apartheid who are still suffering, but all these people are walking around free. And all of a sudden, they've forgotten that they used to support apartheid and they used to be part of the machinery.
Yeah, I mean, the final point you make there is undoubtedly valid, but I think it's very important to agree on what it is that we are actually discussing. So the points you make are vital. And, the issues of the injustices of the past and the fact that perpetrators paid no consequences for that is one thing. And it has to be engaged with and it has to be discussed, as you say. That doesn't necessarily, though, answer questions about the absolute undermining of the parole system, as I think there was in the case of Shabir Sheikh, because you don't fix the one by doing the other, or you don't fix the one by not doing the other. Craig Williamson had never appeared in court, and I think that is the problem, and never faced charges for the things that are now, for example, coming up in the conversation around the killing of the Cradock Four. But I think if we are to make some headway on the kind of difficulties that we're dealing with now, we have to acknowledge the extent to which those represent the bitter fruit of the past. We have to acknowledge the extent to which they are abuses that have been generated in a democratic South Africa. And we have to finally, and I think most importantly, in my view at least, acknowledge that relativism doesn't answer specific problems. It just highlights other problems that need to be resolved. And if we just say, well, we're not going to fix this thing until we fix that thing, the likelihood is we're not going to fix anything. And that always leaves me worried. But keep your thoughts coming, please, on 072 702 1702. Beverly asked this question: if we deposit our glass bottles, this in response to a conversation we had earlier with Kate Kenny from the Glass Recycling Company. They have an initiative urging people to collect glass. If you missed that interview, by the way, with Kate Kenny, pick it up on Prime Media plus.com. But Beverly's question, if we deposit our glass bottles and jars, does the recycling company want us to remove the bottle caps and jar lids? And the emphatic answer is yes, please. Please remove them. We checked with the company, and that's the answer they'd like us to give to Beverly and anyone else who's thinking of getting involved. It's coming up now for 18 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's get the very latest on that cricket match. South Africa up against Pakistan. Second game in the ODI series. Of course, you'll remember that Pakistan won the T20 series 2-1 and the first game in this series. Pakistan batted first. We're at the crease. Tola Kele has the details.
Thanks so much, John. And they posted 269 for 9 in that second clash against the Proteas as Salman Aga top scored with 69, while Nandri Berger took 4 for 46. In response, the Proteas are at the crease on 43 without any loss in the 8th over, requiring 227 runs to win. Batting is Luandre Pretorius on 31 alongside Quinton de Kock on 11. Switching over to rugby, where it'll be a special occasion for Siya Kolisi and Rassie Erasmus. That's when the Springboks clash with France in their second game of the outgoing tour on Saturday. The captain will become the 9th Springbok centurion, while Erasmus takes charge of his 50th test as head coach.
My 50th is really not a big thing. I mean, we haven't even mentioned it. We saw it the other 2 days ago in the media. So just to be part of the team for me is awesome, and part of representing South Africa in whatever capacity it was in the past, from technical analyst to assistant coach to director of rugby. It's just really lekker to be in the Springbok environment with a lot of South Africans really behind us. So that's lekker.
Hugo Bruce has ruled out a Bafana return for Thembi Nkosi Lodge after naming his squad for the friendly against Zambia, which will be played on the 15th of November in Gqeberha. Lodge has been one of Wydad Casablanca's standout performers since the start of the season, scoring 4 goals in 8 games to lead the side to the top of the Batola Pro 1 League. The new face in the Bafana squad is Masindi Nematenjela, who's one of 9 Orlando Pirates players named in the 23-man squad.
This is not the future. I'm very sorry. This is not the future. And if I shouldn't have other opportunities, okay, maybe I should take him. It happened also 4 years ago with Themba. I wanted to look for opportunities, but I didn't find them, and I had to come back and I had to take Themba, and it was a very good decision that I took him, because you see what happens with the team then. Again, for Lodge, for the moment I don't see, even he has good performances in Morocco, I don't see any reason why I should take him with the team.
Miguel Cardoso believes that clean sheets will now become a regular feature of Mamelodi Sundowns' performances now that he has a settled back line. His comments come after they 1-0 win over TS Galaxy, a result that sees them move 3 points clear at the top of the Betway Premiership standings. It's their first clean sheet since September's win over Magesi.
Not easy to play against this team, but we had that challenge last week. We discussed it a lot, that question of not suffering goals. Unfortunately, I think that the lack of stability that we had from the beginning of the season made us suffer goals that we're not used to. Despite, obviously, last campaigns have been, let's say, marked by stability and good performance on goals scored and goals suffered, and no goals not conceded. But obviously, stability brings that.
And Pep Guardiola has hailed Erling Haaland after he broke yet another record in Manchester City's 4-1 win over Borussia Dortmund in the UEFA Champions League. He got on the score sheet to take his tally to 18 goals in 14 games across all competitions. He also becomes the first player to score in 5 consecutive Champions League games for 3 different clubs.
I didn't play Erling to be the captain. It's happened because John is so important for us in many things, especially when you have to make a lot of shifts across, and Bernie. So sometimes I need Bernie for 20 minutes when the game is a little bit complicated. He's able to go too close to the ball and giving extra passes when the opponents do it.
Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from out on the roads. Charlene Leroux helping you to get home.
Thank you so much, John. On the N3 North, there's a crash just before Van Buren Road. All lanes are still closed, so you can expect delays if you can use an alternative route before you reach Van Buren Road. On the N12 East, there's a crash at the R59, and the N1 North, there's a crash on the Beyers Naudé on-ramp, and heading onto the N1 South. Just after Proof Plus, there's also a crash, and that's obstructing the right lane. On the N1 North, there's a stationary vehicle that's in the left lane after New Road, and there's a crash that's obstructing the left lane. And on the N1 South, there's a stationary truck in the centre lane. It's just before Buccleuch interchange. And on Euphues Road, there's a crash, and that's on the ramp to Ben Skuman. And in Centurion, traffic lights out at the N14 and Jean Avenue, as well as the N1 and Old Joburg Road, and in Pretoria CBD at Bosman and Versaghi. More Eyewitness News traffic at 5 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 14 minutes to 5. We've been talking a little bit about hotels and curious stories about hotels, prompted by my colleague Kabazela. Jonathan, good afternoon. You were listening to something that Wendy Nola was highlighting.
Yeah, afternoon, John, and to the 702 family. So it was a post on X that Wendy had posted, and she was staying in a hotel, and she put a picture of basically a wooden sort of, let's call it a cabinet, and inside there you could see used to be a mini bar fridge. So if you go to hotels, you know, some would have mini bar fridges with incredibly expensive cool drinks made out of gold and, crisps and snacks. That is very, very expensive. And then sometimes you may have a bar fridge that is completely empty and might be there for your convenience. So what she's picking up is she's saying that some hotels now are resorting to, and depending on the room that you pick, if it's like a standard room, you won't have a bar fridge inside the room. And looking at the comments, a lot of people like the bar fridges in their rooms, not necessarily stocked with the gold cool drinks.
Yes.
But, at least if you have a fridge in there, you can use it for whatever you may need to use it for. So it was quite an interesting post that I came across, which obviously got us talking about hotels and hotel rooms, So, I suppose we could look at it from a point of view, it does a bar fridge matter to you in a hotel? Is that something that you really, really want? And then some people were talking about the experiences of going into the hotels and opening up that fridge and just thinking, wow, all these snacks.
All for me.
And then your parents will say, no, those are, you cannot touch those.
Where did you get those crisps?
Because they like sometimes double, triple the price of what you could normally get outside.
That's why you're calling them gold cool drinks.
Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, hotels and those kind of amenities. What's important to you in a hotel, I suppose?
Yeah, and I'll add another layer to that and just ask you, if you have kind of misunderstood the way things work and what they might cost when you stayed in a hotel, or perhaps you've had children who said, when you're just nipping down for the luggage and you come back and there's crisp packets and they're all empty, and the of that gold cool drink has just sounded like not music to your ears. Tolakele, hotels, anything you maybe got wrong the first time, but certainly not the second?
Oh, John, the first time I went to a hotel was Sun City. And they stock the bar fridge very, very nicely. Ravaged everything that was in there. And then when I checked out, they were like, ma'am, these are all the things that you ate and you owe us this money. And I was like, but you guys put it in the fridge. Is it not complimentary? They were like, no. Ever since that day, even the water, I don't want it. I don't want anything in a bar fridge. I will go somewhere else to buy me those things.
Give us your calls, please, on 072 702 1702. A lot of you are commenting on this issue around Angelo Agrizzi, and Ranky says, I'm not sure why we're comparing his situation with others. I think most of us saw that he looked very sick during his appearances in court. Unlike others that I have never seen looking sick, the others looked very healthy, singing, dancing to the crowd just before going to jail, even a few weeks after going home. So let's just, get to the point and say you're obviously referring to the former president, Jacob Zuma. It goes on, the kick while dancing was so high and strong, showing someone who is not sick at all. Can we call the judges who made the sick call to 702 just to explain to us how they made those decisions? Well, let me repeat the point I made earlier. The decision was not made by judges. It was made by the parole board. as part of correctional services. And let me add further that the people who made those decisions, we asked plenty of questions about it. I get that there is a level at which these two things are comparable, but they are different, because it's important that we understand the nature of how systems work. And yes, there will be our rancor and our views and our particular opinions about things, but part of what we try to do on the show is understand process better, which is why I want to understand how a decision like that is made in the context of a court as opposed to a parole board. Now, that said, there are differing views on what's happened with Angelo Agrizi. Greg says, Agrizi came clean, pleaded guilty, and helped expose Bosasa and Watson. That's got to count for something. Okay, how much? No jail time at all? Is that the view on charges that the judge felt each merited 10 years? Kingsley has a different view and says if our justice or sentencing system is restorative and not punitive, what exactly has been restored by Mr. Agrizi's sentencing? For example, if he accumulated assets or monies through being an accomplice, has he been stripped of those? Furthermore, to stress that he was given 10 years for each crime means nothing to the public if no time is going to be served. I'm concerned about the kind of message this sends to the public. It's a good debate. Let's make it as precise as we can. 8 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, this is the time when we do something we call Your House, Your Home, and in that we look at various aspects of the place where you live. However, what we're going to focus on today is a place that you perhaps are not living in yet, but you are thinking of buying it. Do you know exactly what could be the snags if you finally sign that check? Not literally the check. Click on the transfer or sign on the dotted line and accept that you're going to buy it. So let's welcome then to the show Tian Dutoy, property inspector, who's very, very experienced in looking at all these kinds of snags. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Dutoy, and thanks very much for giving us your time. What is the purpose of the inspection? Is it, I would assume it's not necessarily to say don't buy, but is it to maybe give somebody some leverage in the price negotiations, for example?
Good day, John, and thank you for having me. It is really appreciated. Yeah, so snag list inspection is probably one of the most important inspections that you will ever need to do when you buy a property. And the main purpose of a snag list is to ensure that the building that you are buying, the property itself, was first of all built according to the National Building Regulations of South Africa. So that's the first part. And then the second thing is, for argument's sake, let's say you pay 1.5 million rand for the property. Is that money that you are paying the developer, are you actually getting what was promised to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So those are crucial things. When does a snag become a defect? Are they similar?
Great, that's an excellent question. So I think before we address that, it is vitally important to make sure that you get the snag list inspection done before you sign the happy letter to the bank, meaning when they pay the developer or when you do the payment to the developer itself. You have a specific time period of 90 days to do the snag list inspection. And a snag is what you will call a defect. I agree with that. In terms of a defect, there are various things. And like I mentioned, we look at various stuff in terms of the building regulation. Did they promise a gold tap where they said they will install it or not?
Yeah. And in terms of so you do the inspection. I wonder, I can sort of picture a scene where you've got people who are over the moon with excitement. This is exactly what they want. This is what they've been saving for. And you're coming along and saying, have you seen this? Do you find you have to negotiate and navigate a little bit carefully with people, perhaps bring them down to earth, but not with a bump?
Yes, absolutely. You've said it well. So the big thing is, because you only have a certain time period to report the snags, you want to address that, especially before people move into their dream home, right? Like you said, you've worked really hard to purchase the dream home of yourself. And before you want to move in, you need to make sure that everything's correct. And that is from cupboards that are perhaps chipped or not installed correctly to the incorrect drainage pipes which has been installed, which will actually become a nightmare once you've moved in. And let me not start to talk about rising damp, because
Yes.
I have a lot of clients that move in, and within a year, they have major rising damp issues.
So how do you get I don't know what to say. How do you get to the back of the radio? Not that people have radios anymore; they mostly have phones. But you know what I mean. How do you get into the works? I mean, for example, with a damp, are you there with one of those beep things that beep when there's even the first sign of damp? I would imagine that people might come back to you and say, "Well, why didn't you see that?"
That is such a good question. So when I inspect the properties, I take my time and meticulously go through each and every corner of the property. I climb onto the roof, into the roof cavity if it's possible. I open up every cupboard door and every sliding door as well as the windows to make sure that I cover every part of it. So there's a portion of the regulations that has to do with the quality of the material used. And then also, let's take the electrical side of things.
Yes.
There's certain aspects that should be correct. Otherwise, a legal electrical COC cannot be issued. So I make sure to cover every portion of the building to ensure compliance.
We've got one of our listeners who's got a comment or a question. Let's hear that.
Sure.
Good afternoon, John. Yeah, very interesting topic on property and building. But what people don't know is that the latent defect period is actually 5 years. So 5 years, the developer or the builder remains liable for any latent defects. So if the wall starts to crack horribly, he's got to fix that at his own cost. Good conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Tian. A comment on what Colin had to share?
Yeah, thanks for the comment, Colin. So I agree with him in terms of the periods and so forth. The biggest issues, and this is out of the mouth of one of my clients, he paid 20,000 Rand per square meter for his newly built property. And I said, Tian, I was expecting a finished, well-crafted product. And unfortunately, it was not the case. Now they're in a legal battle because it's been more than a year where things were not installed correctly. Luckily, he got a snag list done before the time period, but you don't want to go into litigation to sort things out. You want to catch it beforehand and within the specific time periods. I agree with the 5-year major structural defect time period. That is true, but it's best to do it within the first 90 days.
Yeah, it's important. It sounds traumatic, but you have Tian du Toit, property inspector, to guide you through this. Maybe you want to share your own experiences. I'd be interested to hear, by the way, from property developers who may, want to give us the other side of the story where you perhaps feel people are nitpicking and, looking for every single problem they can find. It's tough out there, so call us 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Former Bosasa COO Angelo Gritti has been sentenced to 10 years, suspended for 5 years. He's Komotso Modise. What do we know about this arrangement?
The basis of the agreement, Mandy, has been Angelo Gritti's ill health. And so that has been what's been argued by the state and his lawyers here today. The fact that there is no prison that can take care of him. It has been submitted here by the lawyers that it would be best that his sentence be suspended.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702. Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for butcheries, restaurants, beauty salons, and more. Here's Gert.
I definitely have peace of mind that Business Outsurance is protecting our business. I do think Business Outsurance are the best insurance company out there, and they gave us the best quotes.
Switch to Business Outsurance, and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The G20 Summit coming to Johannesburg is a stepping stone towards a brighter future for the city. Josie My Josie has launched the Babize Bonke campaign to shine a spotlight on some of the extraordinary champions who are reshaping Johannesburg from the ground up.
My name is Grant Ngobo. When Galanche first opened, I was 14 years old and worked my way up, and now I lead the organization at the age of 27. From the 51st floor of Ponte, we run inner city tours and community community centers at the bottom, challenging stereotypes about Hillbrow, Berea, and Yuva.
Josie My Josie is making the invisible visible, giving the voiceless a voice. It's a movement for the people, by the people, creating a city that we can proudly call Josie My Josie. Come see how Josie does it. A city that's alive, ready, and rising. Prime Media and 702 are proud sponsors of Josie My Josie.
Josie My Josie Babize Bonke champion Grant Noble will be interviewed on Weekend Breakfast by Gugzum Hlungu just after 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Don't miss it.
This is EWN.
Some low-lying areas hit by flooding in Gauteng as heavy rain continues, an Operation Dudula to shift its focus to schools for now. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Gauteng authorities are on high alert with flooding reported in parts of the province this afternoon. There have been reports of roads and homes being flooded in parts of Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg. There are also images and videos doing the rounds of flooded stores at the Golden Walk shopping centre in Germiston. Meanwhile, Johannesburg Emergency Services has urged motorists to drive with caution and extend the safe following distance. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
Our residents in our low-lying areas, especially our informal settlement, to avoid crossing river streams while conducting daily activities. From our side as the City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services, we remain on high alert together with our aquatic rescue unit, which is a specialized team which responds to water-related emergencies.
Controversial group Operation Dudula has threatened to visit schools next week to ensure children they believe to be undocumented foreign nationals do not benefit from the public education system. This despite a recent court ruling that found that the group's practice of demanding identity documents from patients at public healthcare facilities is illegal. The organization argues the judgment only prevents them from interfering with hospitals and clinics, but not so much public schools. Alfa Ramoshwana reports.
Operation Dudula believes the recent court ruling will enable undocumented foreign nationals to exploit government resources without accountability. The movement-turned-political party argues that South Africans should be top priority and that undocumented foreign nationals should not have access to public healthcare services. Operation Dudula leader Zandile Tabula says public schools should also prioritize South African citizens.
The court does not stop our intentions, our intended operations at the schools. It doesn't. Now this means on Monday, the 11th of November, we will be at the schools.
The group is now appealing the Gauteng High Court's ruling, barring it from blocking foreign nationals from accessing public healthcare facilities. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
To Parliament now, where the head of the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Andrea Johnson, has defended the arrest of crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo. She says Khumalo's arrest by IDAC investigators was not dramatic, dismissing claims made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who questioned the arrest, calling it a project to destabilize organized crime investigations. Johnson was responding to questions before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption today. Babalondenze reports.
Dumisani Khumalo was arrested along with 6 co-accused on charges of fraud and corruption linked to the appointment of 30-year-old Dineo Mokwele to an executive position within crime intelligence, despite having no policing experience. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had questioned his arrest for what he said was essentially an HR matter. Mkhwanazi also described the arrest of Khumalo as being dramatic, but Andrea Johnson says this was not the case.
And I do recall that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi indicated there was a dramatic arrest. There was no dramatic arrest. There were just 2 IDAC investigators. They approached him, spoke to him, and he went to the car. Even at the time of the conversations, his security detail was right there.
Johnson says the arrests of Khumalo and his co-accused were justified because they made misrepresentations about Mokwele's skills and experience for the job. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The National Prosecuting Authority says it entered into a plea agreement with former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi because he can help the state secure convictions amid ongoing corruption investigations at the contractor. Agrizzi was handed a suspended sentence in the Pretoria High Court today. He faced 3 counts of corruption and 1 of money laundering and was handed 10 years for each, suspended for 5 years. This means Agrizzi will not be serving any time behind bars. Khomotso Modise has more.
Angelo Agrizzi started singing at the Zondo Commission, revealing alleged acts of crime committed by contractor Bosasa to secure government contracts from correctional services. While he was tried separately for fraud and money laundering, the investigating directorate has pending matters against other accused, including former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mti and former Member of Parliament Vincent Smith. The NPA believes Agrizzi can help them secure convictions in these cases. Investigating Directorate spokesperson Henry Mamutame.
And investigations thereof can be able to source information from him as the key person who was operating in Bosasa at the time all of these crimes were committed. Therefore, we saw it wise that we reached such an agreement with.
While Agrizzi will not set foot in a prison cell for now, he must cooperate with prosecutors and not commit any similar crimes to keep his freedom. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
And the United States says there will be a 10% reduction in air travel capacity at 40 major U.S. airports. It comes as unpaid air traffic controllers face growing fatigue and staff shortages during the longest government shutdown on record. They have been working unpaid since the shutdown began last month, and most have been on duty 6 days a week while putting in mandatory overtime. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air travel is still safe and the decision to cancel the flights is being made to maintain safety and efficiency.
I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
Gold is trading at $4,012.81 an ounce. The rand is at 17.34 to the dollar, 22.73 to the pound, 20.02 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.52 a barrel.
On the N3 North, there's a crash before Van Buren Road. 3 lanes are closed. You can expect heavy delays. On the N1 South, there's a crash involving 2 trucks before Buccleuch interchange and the left lane's closed.
In your sport, the Proteas set a victory target of 270 in their second ODI against Pakistan. No room for sentimentality for Rassie Erasmus ahead of his 50th Test as head coach. And Hugo Broos rules out a Bafana recall for Thembinkosi Lodge.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at a high of 18. Pretoria 15 and 20 and Vereniging 13 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Gauteng authorities are on high alert with flooding reported in some parts of the province.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, welcome to the last hour of the show. It's great to have you with us. Coming up on the show in the next few moments, we'll be talking to Ntabiseng Dubazana, a lawyer in practice and a director at Dubazana Attorneys. Questions that we want to ask about how judges judge whether somebody is too ill to go to jail. What are the factors that they use, and does it depend to some degree on the case that you are actually able to make? And that's something that we're talking about in the light of the decision reached around Angelo Agrizzi, the former COO of Bosasa. A lot of you with comments to make on that. We've got a good debate going, but I do want us to also find out exactly how the law works in this regard. Many of you communicating with me on social media, but has social media ever been a source of substantial stress in your life? I know it has definitely been the case for me, and there have been times when I've just said, enough, switch off There's a great term for it called doom scrolling, where you go looking for things that you're already anxious about and then find confirmation of that, even if you're desperately searching for something that might actually give you a different perspective on the thing that you are in such terror of. But a study's been done, an interesting one, at the University of the Free State. We'll talk to the academic involved. Dr. Hercules Kombrink is our guest at about 22 minutes past 5. A lot of you are responding to the interview we had with Tian du Toit about snag lists when you're moving into a new development and a place that's just been built. We'll play some of those voice notes. Interesting and funny stories about hotels. We asked you for those as well. Let's see what you sent us in that mix.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. The first time I went overseas, I think 1985, stayed in this lovely hotel in Germany. And boy, I tucked into everything in that bar fridge. I used to flatten it every day, and it just kept on getting filled every day. And then my company at the end got the bill and nearly hit the panic button.
Good afternoon, 702 and the listeners. Trust you guys are well. With regards to the talk about property or home, we purchased a property and the property had laminate floors. But when the people moved out, the rotting part of it was actually covered by furniture, so we didn't see the rot at all. And when it was time to report it, we reported it to the estate agent, we reported to the owners, we reported it, I think it's called like the home council or something like that. It's some board that looks after these things. And all of them, we got a no from all of them. But needless to say, we are blessed. We've got new floors. But just be careful and check everything. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you for that. And there's some more besides. On the Agrizi issue, Tabang says, the man is on his deathbed. Is he being pilloried because he is of Caucasian descent? To me, this signifies hatred, nothing but unadulterated hatred. I absolutely disagree with you, Tabang. We interrogate the workings of the criminal justice system and the fairness of the courts regularly on this show and on this station. We've done it with a huge range of people. And yes, you choose to highlight race here, which is your prerogative, but we interrogated around other issues as well: privilege, wealth, class, and that is not always a one-to-one overlap with race in South Africa. Power comes in many shapes and forms in South Africa, and I think the questions we're asking are valid, and the fact that we're getting an expert on this to come in and tell us how the system actually works in terms of a legal framework, I think is of value and use to all of us. 702 Drive, 13 past 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Charlene, what's up?
Thank you so much, John. On the N3 North, those 3 lanes are still closed before Van Buren Road due to that earlier crash. So you can expect heavy delays. Traffic's backed up to Elandsfontein. So if you can, please use an alternative route. Allow for extra traveling time if you're heading out on the N3 North. On the N1 South, there's a crash involving 2 trucks. It's before Buccleuch interchange. The left lane is closed. And on the N1 South, there's a stationary truck. It's in the central lane before Buccleuch interchange. And on the N1 North, there's still that crash on Beyers-Naudé on-ramp. And on the N1 South, there's a crash in the right lane. That's at Proefplaas interchange. And there's also a crash before Linwood Road with 1 lane closed. And in Pretoria CBD, those traffic lights still faulty at Bosman and Versaghi Road. More Eyewitness News traffic in 15 minutes.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Okay, 5:15. Let's turn to that story that's been a thread really throughout the show today. The former Chief Operating Officer, Angelo Agrizi, who was a very central and important figure at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry with this detailed testimony about the way in which Bosasa was involved in giving all sorts of benefits to powerful politicians. He's pleaded guilty to corruption and money laundering. 4 counts. He gets 10 years on each of those 4 counts, which I think indicates the judge's view of the seriousness of what it is that he admitted to doing. But he won't be serving jail time. This because of the state of his health. And in addition to that, the judge has said that the judge didn't say it actually. The prosecutor said that he will be cooperating and providing information and testimony in regard to other matters that will be coming before the courts. Let me just do this because I should have done it after the traffic. The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you find the right outfit for the date, but they can ease the traffic congestion so you can get to the restaurant on time to feel the butterflies in your tummy. With the Outsurance Pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's get into that issue then around medical considerations when judges reach final decisions about what kind of jail time people should serve. And Thabiseng Dubazana is director of Dubazana Attorneys and joins us now on 702 Drive. Ms. Dubazana, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Is there a set framework that judges use, or is it based largely on what the defense puts forward by way of the nature of a medical condition and what they believe to be the state of readiness of the prison and hospital services to accommodate that prisoner? How does it actually work?
Good afternoon, John, and thank you so much for having me.
Sorry to interrupt you. Very faint. I don't know if you're on speakerphone or perhaps you might move.
No, I'm not on speaker.
That's already way better. If you wouldn't mind carrying on.
Awesome. I think it was far from my mouth. My apologies there.
No problem.
So the way it works usually, and from this case, from my understanding, is that a 105 capital letter A plea was entered into between the state and the defense. So this means that the sentencing procedures and what the accused is going to plead guilty to was already pre-decided by the defense attorney and the state. That is basically what the purpose of Section 105A means. Right. It is for us to basically enter into a settlement agreement of sorts, agree on what the sentence is, of course, in consultation with whomever that's affected by the case and also in consultation with the accused as well. And then what we do then is we present this 105A to the presiding officer, to the judge, and say, my lord, my lady, this is what we have agreed upon with the state, and these are the reasons that are attached to it. And then if the court is of need to make, in order to pronounce on the sentence, and maybe they don't really agree with it, then they may request further information. So this is when, if I were to make an example, in a situation where there's murder, and then we need a pre-sentence report. So the court may request something of that nature and say, okay, I understand you're saying your client is ill, but there's not enough information for me to make a pronouncement on the Section 261H, for example, sentence that you would like for me to impose. So that's basically the general idea on how it would work.
So I mean, could a judge say, I get that the health of your client is extremely poor, but nevertheless, I think that the severity of what they did does not allow me to allow them not to go to jail. Are judges' hands tied in this? I mean, could a judge say, look, you're going to have to take your chances with the prison hospital system?
No, the judge's hands are not tied. So they really have to weigh up everything before they make a pronouncement on whatever kind of sentence that they want. I think that's the beauty of taking matters to the High Court versus the Match Court. Because Match Court, usually the magistrates are creatures of statute, so their hands might not be as free as those of judges. So in such a situation, if the report comes back and let's say there's an inquiry or investigation done with the correctional services, and then they look at their medical centers if they can accommodate or deal with the health issues that are that are coming with this particular accused, if they too say, we do not have the capacity to deal with this, they may also be requested to make a report to that effect. And then that will speak to how the court will then make a determination on what kind of sentence they will impose.
I think we've all accepted that access to justice is inequitable. Obviously, Mr. Agritzi, a man of substantial wealth and means, and would be able to marshal a team of people to give evidence on his behalf in regard to his medical condition. What happens in the normal run of things? I mean, I would have thought that people who don't have those resources must be before judges all the time. Perhaps they have committed fraud, but they also have cancer, for example. I mean, who speaks for them? And does the record show that those kind of people actually also get a certain amount of leeway in these matters? What's the pattern in the courts?
The hope is that when you go into court, you'll be able to be afforded an attorney of the state, so a legal aid, my former employer from many, many years back.
Right.
So what would happen in court is that if you're not a person of means, there's always a legal aid practitioner in every single court, and then they will take on your matter. And if you bring up these issues that I have cancer, I am stage 4, and blah, 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 then all those things should be put together. And then what would happen is that instead of having, for example, a private doctor to assess you, then they would obviously have to request the state resources. It takes longer, unfortunately, and if you are in the time that they're trying to get these pre-sentence reports, you are in custody, then unfortunately that is what it is what it is, unless you're able to make an application for bail while you are awaiting your sentence, and your reasons being your health, and the court accepts that, then great. But apart from that, you'll be stuck in custody until the pre-sentence report comes out. And if the pre-sentence report from the state doctors confirms what you are saying, then there you go. Everything is the same. You'll be able to get a sentence that precludes you from going into custody and allows you to go and get treatment.
Thank you so much. And Tabi Singh Dubazana, Director of Dubazana Attorneys. Maybe you've had direct experience either as a lawyer, perhaps you once were a judge, or maybe a family member in this situation. Something to add? This is where you go to add it. 072 702 1702. Just one more listener comment before we move on to something else. Suzette says Agritzi, when he was younger, knew what he did was wrong. He still continued. Now old and frail, he testifies against others. So the message is, continue with shadiness while you can, and then turn when you are in a corner, says Suzette, and finishes by saying, I don't know, with 3 dots. I think that's a feeling I often have. I don't know. But anyway, we do our best. It's 23 past 5.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
I've disappeared down some pretty dark holes on social media. I like the term doom scrolling. I think it's very, very apt because not only does it depict what you're actually going through, i.e. as you scroll, there's more doom, but it also reflects for me an almost mad, crazy compulsion to stick with something that you know is making you deeply anxious. So why are we doing this? Well, my next guest is part of a team that's been actually looking at this. He is Dr. Hercules Kombrink, co-director of the Interdisciplinary Center for Digital Futures at the University of the Free State. Dr. Kombrink, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Now, you're looking at social stress as it is exacerbated and perhaps even rooted in our engagement with social media. What made you go and look at that? I know your initial study focused on the COVID period, but presumably the conclusions you've reached have application well beyond the pandemic. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and thank you so much. That's actually a very excellent question. The biggest lesson that we learned from COVID and from any public crisis, be it my social unrest or anything related to not only health, any uncertainty, is that mass mobilization, mass media, and uncertainty as a concept is the biggest challenge we have to fight in this crisis.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's quite a challenging thing to mitigate. If you take COVID-19, there were a large number of, I would say, smaller crises given COVID-19. So the vaccine rollout as an example, or even social distancing. The uncertainty fueled people not really knowing where to go. And that unknowingness, that uncertainty, fueled a lot of unintended consequences. So misinformation, which led to vaccine hesitancy, for example, or misinformation, which led to people not social distancing when they should have, and not just for COVID-19, for any communicable disease, for that matter. So what we've learned is that amidst any crisis, uncertainty is what we are fighting.
So is there something, and I know that this is not a psychological study, but I'd be keen to get your view. Yeah. Do we have a predilection, and I'm generalizing hugely, to go back to the source of our anxiety in the hope that the source of our anxiety might have changed its mind? That if we keep going to the same place, maybe we'll get a different answer, which, if you think about it, is pretty crazy, but also understandable.
Yeah, that's actually, so more fundamentally speaking, that is what we are trying to ascertain. It's not just about picking up, so the social stress indicator is really a digital thermometer for stress.
Okay.
But what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to match this indicator with other indicators, not just economic, but behavioral. We're trying to ascertain whether or not our responses to social stress, given social media, has other consequences that we can measure. Because if we can measure it, then we can study it a little bit more deeper with a little bit more certainty. And that is what we're trying to ascertain. Exactly like you said. Is there something fundamental about the human condition that we can outline through something like this? And an indicator like this is step one of such a process.
And I suppose just finally, I mean, is this shifting a little bit? Because arguably access to the internet should have given people a greater sense of agency, where they can say, look, I don't have to just watch that TV channel. I can go online and choose from literally an infinity of presenters of views that either clash or accord with my own. I would have thought that would have, to some degree at least, made people feel a little bit better.
Well, you would think so, but unfortunately, with social media, it did a mass mobilization of everyone, including those who are depressed, including those who sit with underlying conditions, including those who already are facing anxiety. And I'm not marginalizing or trying to isolate groups of people with any kinds of stress or any kind of issues in the matter. But what I'm trying to illustrate is that if you have a set of platforms that can get the entirety of civilization on there, then you will get the entirety and the scope of all types of behavior and consequences of behavior. And I don't think we're seeing social media as such as there's a lot of research that points to the anxieties caused by social media and so on. But what I think we are seeing is, if we had 50 years ago something that could measure everyone or most people in society, I think we're getting a little bit of a reflection of that. So fundamentally, I'm trying to assess, is this as a result of social media, or is this as a result of the human condition and we just never had the ability to measure it?
Yeah, we didn't know all those people were out there because we didn't engage with so many of them. Thank you. So much more to talk about. I'm sure we'll come back to it as the study unfolds. Dr. Hercules Kombrink joining us from the Interdisciplinary Center for Digital Futures at the University of the Free State. How about you in social media? I mean, does it affect your mood? Has it caused you anxiety, or has it given you maybe some insights and access to ideas and opinions that you thought perhaps, well, I'm on my own thinking this, and discover, well, actually I'm not? It's a mixed bag, I would suspect, but your view, please, on 072 702 1702, or if you like, speaking social media, post it to X at John Perlman. You'll find me there.
EWN Business.
Stephen Critters, a very good afternoon to you. Yeah, what kind of day?
Afternoon to you, John. Yeah, interesting day. US is heading down, but the JSE ending the day up, the all-share up 1.2% at 110,101 points. Financials up 0.45%, industrials up 0.79%, and then resources up 2 2/3%. The story of the day, probably Sibanye Stillwater. They're up 7.76%. DRD Gold, which of course is connected to them, is up nearly 5.5%. Sibanye confirming its group-adjusted EBITDA for the quarter to the end of October, including US tax credits, was up nearly 200% on the year-on-year. EBITDA without that tax credit, 53% higher from quarter 2 to quarter 3. Their platinum group metal operations in South Africa did very well, and so did their gold operations. And of course, in the current context, that really is pushing up their results, and so investors piling in there. Motors up nearly 6% on the day. Sappi ending the day up 4.26%. Interesting, they were actually up nearly 10% earlier in the day. They did report a loss of over 3 billion rand. You may remember, John, they fell nearly 15%, I think it was, last month after they put out a very weak outlook. Now they seem to have recovered a little bit. They do still say that the global operating environment is difficult in the short term. One of their problems is what they call adverse currency movements. The rand was too strong, John, I think is what that really means. So, you win some, you lose some. Anglo Gold are up 4.39% and Harmony up 3.15%. First Rand down 1.66% today. They did say they might have to raise their provision for fines that it may have to pay in the UK for the mis-selling of car finance. It's a complicated story, been going on for a long time. And Vodacom confirming that it expects headline earnings per share for the interim results for the 6 months to the end of September to be up by between 30% and 40%. We, of course, are looking forward to speaking to Vodacom next week. We'll send them, dare I say, please call me. And obviously that issue is going to come up. We'll talk more about it on The Money Show tonight. And then in the US, so stocks kind of open flat, but they've headed negative quite strongly now. The Dow Jones is down 0.5%. The Nasdaq is down nearly 1%. The S&P 500 is down 0.63% on the day so far. I think still generally just concerns of evaluation of AI stocks. The gold price, $3,985.52. Platinum, $1,538. Brent crude, $63.04. The rand to the dollar, 17.36 to the euro, 20.03 to the British pound, 22.75. On The Money Show tonight, John, we'll talk about the Please Call Me case. We'll talk about water and bankable projects. The problem is not that there's no money. The problem is finding a project that you, John Perlman, would put your pension money into.
Right.
That's really the issue. We'll be talking about that tonight. We'll talk also about an interview Dan Marikani gave to Business Live, and he was quite clear on this. He said, if you want to subsidize smelters, you want them to have cheaper electricity, well then you, John, I mean you, have to actually pay more for your electricity. And we need to be very explicit about what we're trying to do here, because these are private companies that would effectively be getting a subsidy. So I think there's a very interesting story. We'll talk about that as well on The Money Show. We'll also talk about pre-loved luxury goods. Stephen Critters, EWN Business.
Pre-loved luxury goods. What a concept. 27 minutes to 6. Let's get some brand new news and some news you've heard about already. I don't think there's such a thing as pre-loved news, but there is eyewitness news. And here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. A very good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa has defended the cleanup of Johannesburg ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit in just over 2 weeks' time, saying it will set a benchmark for future service delivery. Answering questions in the National Assembly this afternoon, Ramaphosa again expressed his displeasure about the performance of local government. But he says rather than question the motivation for fixing up the city's surroundings, political parties should be helping to prepare for the global visitors. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says it's only natural to spruce up ahead of visitors' arrival, and that it was obvious India had done the same when it hosted the G20 in 2023. But the DA's Ryan Smith told the president it's a shame the G20 summit has prompted the beautification of Johannesburg when residents have had to endure poor service delivery for years. Ramaphosa agreed that the city of gold is in a poor state.
Our local government situation is not pleasing at all. We must all admit that.
He says the G20 cleanup should set the standard for continued service delivery, not only in Johannesburg.
We don't want to fall back and go back to what Johannesburg was. And I do believe that, and we are going to use this as a benchmark.
Following recent visits to Indonesia, Vietnam and Malaysia, Ramaphosa says he's been impressed by how clean their capital cities are. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Following the latest round of musical chairs in the Umkhonto weSizwe party, questions have been raised over the stability of the country's official opposition. But the party's leadership insists it's still going through its teething issues, which will eventually iron themselves out. The MK party has suspended its deputy president and parliamentary leader John Perlman for ill discipline, saying he acted unilaterally by firing Colleen Makhubele as chief whip and replacing her with Des van Rooyen yesterday. Thabiso Koba has more.
Since its inception about 2 years ago, the MK party has had 7 secretary generals, 4 different parliamentary chief whips, and constantly changes the list of its public representatives, whether in the National Assembly or in provincial legislatures. Internal factional squabbles also continue to plague the country's official opposition party. Head of Presidency Magasela Mzobe says the suspension of the party's parliamentary leader John Perlman was not easy. However, it was necessary, as the party cannot allow for ill discipline to go unpunished.
Now, the President Zuma was confronted with the reality of whether to allow this thing to continue or to use this opportunity to affirm the principle of collective leadership. And unfortunately and sadly, it ought to look like to other people like we're unstable, but it's meant to stabilize the party on its processes of decision making.
Mzobe says Perlman will be subjected to the party's internal disciplinary process. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And the matter involving crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo has been postponed in the Pretoria Magistrates Court after the accused requested more details from prosecutors. Khumalo and his 6 co-accused appeared on charges of fraud and corruption linked to the appointment of 30-year-old Dineo Mukwege to an executive position within crime intelligence despite having no policing experience. The accused had asked the state to give further particulars, which prosecutors responded to today. The matter was postponed to February to allow the accused to consult with their lawyers. But the investigating directorate says Mukwege has made another application based on the state's response. Spokesperson Henry Mamutame.
They're going to make another application for the court to compel the state to provide them with further particulars. You may have heard that my response to them was based on the fact that their request or the particulars that they requested had nothing to do with the case in hand.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with afternoon thundershowers expected, lows of between 13 and 15 degrees and highs of between 17 and 20.
3 North, there's still heavy traffic approaching Van Buren Road due to a crash and 3 lanes are closed. And on the N1 South, there's a crash involving 2 trucks before Buccleuch interchange. The left lane's obstructed.
The top story in EWN, President Cyril Ramaphosa has defended the cleanup of Joburg ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit in just over 2 weeks' time.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
U.S. government under the president of Donald Trump announced it would be withdrawing millions of dollars in funding around the world for the fight against HIV/AIDS. Now, with South Africa having the highest number of infections of any country in the world, what does that mean?
It means that people who are lost to care are likely going to become ill. Many of them will die. We could see the number of new HIV cases as well.
Nathan Geffen.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The all-new Audi A5 has arrived with a panoramic sunroof that changes transparency and a B&O sound system built into the headrests. Every detail makes driving feel like an art form. Visit your Audi dealership, book a test drive, and experience the Audi A5 from 14,499 Rand per month with a guaranteed future value. Visit audi.co.za for more. T's and C's apply. Brought to you by Audi Financial Services, a division of Volkswagen Financial Services, South Africa Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
I'm Samela Kelboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Protect public health. Increase the health tax on sugary drinks, tobacco, and alcohol. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
EWN Sport.
South Africa up against Pakistan's second game of an ODI series. We lost the first out in Faisalabad. How's it going today, Tolakele?
Well, John Andre Burger took a career best 4 for 46 as South Africa restricted the home side to 269 for 9. In response, the Proteas are currently 125 for the loss of 1 in the 20th over. They now need 145 more runs for victory. Batting is Quinton de Kock on 55 alongside Tony de Zorzi on 21. Switching over to rugby, where Siya Kolisi will earn his 100th Test cap on Saturday as he marks yet another achievement in a career that's made him an international icon. The 34-year-old will become the 9th Springbok centurion when the double world champions take on France. After Rassie Erasmus appointed him as the first black captain, Kolisi has since led the Boks to 2 World Cup titles.
We're very proud of Sia. We're proud of being part of him reaching that milestone. But there's a lot of other guys that's close to milestones who's on 47 caps, 48 caps, 93 caps, 97 caps. I think there's a lot of them that's going to come now. But at the end of the day, like Sia handled it and like Eben handled it, when those big milestones come, if you make those things bigger than the match, then you normally tend to come second in that match. So his humbleness is something that just stands out for me always.
New Zealand captain Scott Barrett will sit out most of the 2026 Super Rugby Pacific season after exercising a clause in his contract to take a non-playing sabbatical following the All Blacks season-ending tour. Barrett is likely to mirror the schedule followed by teammate and fellow All Black Cody Taylor, who took a 6-month sabbatical after the 2023 World Cup and came back for the last 4 games of Super Rugby. Switching over to football, where Hugo Broos says he's given up on having a meeting with all the PSL coaches. That's after years of trying to convince them to work with him to benefit Bafana Bafana. The national team returned to action against Zambia on the 15th of November in Gqeberha. And ahead of it, Broos says only 3 teams have been open to working with him.
I didn't try to have the coaches anymore. After 4 attempts, and every time they said no, no, no. But with those guys, Pirates phoned me, also with Rivera. They said, look, do you want to meet the coach? I said, yes. Same thing happened with Sundowns. I met now Cardoso, I met the guy who is now in Arrows, and the coach who was before him. So I met them. And this is what it has to be. We don't have to be rivals. We are colleagues.
Speaking of Miguel Cardoso, he says no one at Mamelodi Sundowns is happy with their points tally following a slow start in the Betway Premiership. Following their 1-0 win over TS Galaxy last night, the Brazilians have now collected 25 points from their 12 matches and lead second place Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs by 3 points.
No one is happy inside Mamelodi Sundowns. That doesn't mean that we don't understand why that is also happening. What we are working strong is that after we were able to put the things on the proper path to accumulate the most number of points possible, we knew it from the very beginning that the league would be tough. I spoke already about that. Competition is got better. Competition is fighting hard. It comes already from the last season. But what we want is to shape our character in a way that we are so strong and have such attitude that no one can destroy and break our attitude. Nobody.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 16 minutes to 6, EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Charlene Leroux with the latest.
Thank you, John. It's not looking good if you're on the N3 North. Officials still busy with that crash that's just before Van Buren Road with 3 lanes still closed. So you can expect heavy traffic. Allow for extra travelling time, or if you can, use an alternative route. And if you're on the N1 South, there's a crash involving 2 trucks before Kloof interchange with the left lane still closed. On the R21 North, there's a crash, and that's at the ramp from the Engen Highveld 1 stop. And there's still that earlier crash on Beyersnudeur, the on-ramp heading onto the N1 North. And on the N12 West, there's a stationary vehicle that's just after Reading interchange with one lane obstructed. And on the N1 South, there's a crash in the right lane at Proefplaas interchange and just before Linwood Road with one lane closed. More Eyewitness News traffic at 6 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a couple stealing glances at each other. In a week, their lives will change forever as they exchange their I-do's. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a love story on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. So with around 15 minutes to go in the show, we thought we'd get into our music nice and early because this is one I suspect many of you would like to respond to. The question we're asking you is, what song reminds me of your primary school days? So grades 1 to 7, if you're part of this generation, standard 1 to 5. Well, no, grade 1 to standard 5, if you are part of mine. So I gave some thought to a song that really stands out from those years in my life. And I've picked something that stands out for me because it was different, not because it was generally representative of the kind of music I was listening to. Now, I think I mentioned that the musical genre that I remember best from particularly my sort of early years in school was something we called bubblegum. So we had the Archies the other day. There was a group called the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. There was a band a singer rather called Tommy Rowe. There were probably some others as well. But then I remember hearing a song that absolutely came out of the blue. And it was so marvelous that I didn't really know at the time. All I knew was I liked the song. I didn't realize it was part of one of the richest musical traditions out there. But believe it or not, I was 8 years old when this song actually made it onto the charts. Narrow as the charts would have been in that part of my life. 1967, Smokey Robinson came out with this. Tears of a Clown, The Tears of a Clown, to give it its absolutely correct title, came out in 1967, number one in the UK for a week. Should have been there for longer. Part of the writing crew, by the way, Stevie Wonder, and wonderful, wonderful songs. So that's what reminds me of primary school, takes me back. And as I said, that wasn't most of what I was listening to, but when Kabazela asked the question of us while we were preparing the show, that's what popped in my head. So what pops into your head? Primary school memories stirred up by what song? And if there's a story to go with it, you know, we love to hear that too. 072 702 1702. It's 11 minutes to 6.
In the last spans 24 hours. This is what's happened in your world.
17 South African men are trapped in the war-torn Donbas region in Ukraine. The South African government says it has received a distress call from the group. 16 of the men are from KwaZulu-Natal and one from the Eastern Cape.
Government says the men were apparently lured to join the mercenary forces involved in the Russia-Ukraine war under the pretext of lucrative employment contracts. It is illegal for South Africans and local entities to give military assistance to foreign governments or participate in armies of foreign governments.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Before you throw it away, think again. Join the Glass Recycling Company's Recycling Challenge this November. Collect your glass bottles and jars, drop them at your nearest glass bank, and help your city climb the leaderboard. Each bottle counts towards a cleaner South Africa. Post your recycling pics on Facebook with hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge and stand a chance to win 5,000 Rand. Let's shatter records and clean up our cities with the Glass Recycling Company. T's and C's apply.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
How's it, But? It's Jason here, your favorite gymfluencer.
Jason, still lifting more than your selfie stick?
Always, But. Gotta stay shredded, eh? But, I'm worried about one thing. What if a major illness hits? Who's got my back?
Relax, Jason. Momentum's critical illness cover is your spotter. It offers the most comprehensive cover in the market.
Woody, I'm signing up faster than I could do 10 reps. But I'm worried about something else, eh?
Let me guess. How many protein shakes it takes before you turn into the incredible bulk?
No, man. Will anyone notice if I skip a leg day?
Chat to your financial advisor about Momentum's critical illness cover. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi John, Sam from Randburg here. Talking about songs that remind us of our primary school days. When I was in grade 6 in 2004, Green Day released an album called American Idiot, and the title track was the anthem for my grade 6 year. Cheers.
Tate John, you're killing me softly now. You remind me, I think it was 1983. This song, man, by Teddy Pendergrass, Close the Door, 83, 84. Tate John, that song, yeah, it was my song. I was young, 83. I think I was 10 years. I was 10 years, 83, Tate John. Yeah, you remind me, take me back. Unkisa ko never, unkopatsa khona Tate John. This is Mandla from Alex.
Close the door. Let me give you what you've been waiting for. Baby, I got so much love to give, and I want to give it all to you. Close the door. No need to worry no more. Let's bring this day to a pleasant end. Girl, it's me and you now.
Yeah, so Mandla was 10 years old when Teddy Pendergrass released that single from his second solo album, Life is a Song Worth Singing. That's the album title. Close the Door, the title of the track from 1971, 2 weeks at number 1 on the R&B chart in the United States. Songs that remind you of primary school. It's wonderful. We're getting such a spread of years and ages. I started off with Tears of a Clown. I think I was 8 when that came out.
Hey John, so I remember Staying Alive because my brother at the time was the local John Travolta, and he used to perform at all these events as John Travolta, had the slick back hair and everything. But yeah, I used to rehearse to Staying Alive. So Staying Alive was like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Hi, John. The song that pops into my head is Holiday by Madonna. Thank you for a great show.
Her very first album, the beginning of a quite stellar career, Madonna, Holiday. Palesa says, definitely Backstreet Boys, everybody from grade 5 at Rivonia Primary School brings back such great memories. Boulevard of Broken Dreams is the one that Lee shares with us. Kieran, mine was Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. What else? This one from Natasha, the song that I loved in my teen years. Okay, but primary school, you should have been out of there by then. Anyway, teen years was The American Idiot by Green Day. Green Day getting quite a lot of love on 702 Drive this afternoon. Keep those coming on 072 702 1702. Let's have some more music.
Hi guys, for me it's Dr. Mahiu Utlofella Guy. My transport driver used to play that song every day when we return from school to home. So please take me back.
Hi there, John. Songs from way back when. Being the oldest person on the planet, the song that I relate to in my childhood was Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock. Now that is seriously ancient.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put your glad rags on, join me home. We'll have some fun when the clock strikes 1. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. When the clock strikes 2, 3, and 4.
Well, if you want to know how old the oldest person on the planet is, also known as Nicholas, that song came out in 1955. So fair enough, it was a while ago. Okay, so we had Dr. Macheo Utlafelakai. That was Sitembiso's memory, and he said, please take me home with that. He was mentioning it was always played in the Scholar Transport. So we don't want to leave you stuck. Here's Dr. Macheo. I bet that song in the taxi was played really quietly. Not? I can just imagine kids bouncing all the way to school and bouncing even more on the way home, because after all, they would have been on the way home. Sherwin, the song that reminds me of primary days is Marua Pula by our own great Letta Mbulu. Perfect song to end a show on a wet day in Gauteng. Marua Pula, you were in primary school, Sherwin, in 2005. Kaifas Semenya and Letta Mbulu. Great songwriters, great music composers, and both with fabulous voices. That's 702 Drive. I'm John Perlman. Have yourselves a wonderful Thursday night. Goodbye.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, advancing Red Rocket's ambitions with Discovery Green as the off-taker to power Africa's future through affordable, renewable energy. Good evening on your Money Show tonight. And Kasana Makata finally gets his millions from Vodacom, and now he faces the steep legal bill. Future Growth Asset Management says we won't get more water infrastructure until projects actually become bankable. The Eskom CEO, Dan Marakane, says he can't give cheaper power to smelters unless you help to pay for it. How the US and China finally got together over TikTok, and we celebrate the return of top billing. All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin on your roads, where Gauteng Emergency Services personnel are cautioning residents about flash floods, particularly in low-lying areas, as the province grapples with heavy downpours. This as part of Ekurhuleni contend with flooding in some areas, along with